In tonight's Tax Insider, passing the highway bill. Last week, Congress passed a 33rd short-term extension for the nation's transportation program. Is it a good deal for taxpayers, though? Here with some answers is Ryan Alexander, president of the nonpartisan Taxpayers for Common Sense. Ryan, since 2009, there have been numerous short-term kick-the-can measures on the transportation program. Why is it so hard for Congress to pass a long-term responsible plan? You know,
it's kind of simple lack of math. There is an increase in demand for new construction and repairs and no tolerance at all for increasing new revenue. So we simply just don't know how to pay for the transportation infrastructure that so many people want. So we keep coming up with short-term fixes.
This latest measure will only cover the next 3 months, dumping $8 billion into the Highway Trust Fund. What do lawmakers expect once that time expires? Will anything change that could pave the way for a more long-term deal?
You know, I think that they will make a slightly longer-term deal after this bill. The Senate has passed a longer-term bill we can talk about, but you know, this three-month bill takes almost 10 years to pay for. They really haven't figured out how are we going to pay for the transportation infrastructure that every single district wants. This is not something where there are partisan differences about how to pay for it, but there are Republicans and Democrats all around the country who would like to make sure they're putting road builders to work. I think there'll be some compromise coming up, but but they're not going to solve the underlying funding problem.
Now, in addition to this deal, Ryan, the Senate passed the DRIVE Act. Tell me more about that.
So the Senate passed a 6-year bill. However, they didn't come up with funding for 6 years. It's a bill that is at least $45 billion short in funding, once again, kind of relying on the old formula of the gas tax, which has not brought in enough money to pay for the transportation bill for quite a while, since it was increased in '93 last, so it's more than 20 years since it's been adjusted, and driving habits have changed, so revenues have gone down, and we keep kind of, you know, stealing from Treasury Peter to pay Transportation Paul.
Now, reportedly, House Speaker John Boehner has called the bill a piece of you-know-what. Is it likely to pass in the House, or will there be major changes?
I think the House will pass a very different-looking bill. I would expect the House to also have some funding gimmicks, but I don't think that they have the support in the Republican caucus to just kind of blatantly pass a bill with such a huge shortfall. So I think we'll see some different approaches, and the real action will come in conference. And whether or not that means we may get, instead of a full 6-year bill, another 2 to 3 year bill, or we may get a 6-year bill where they look for some other trade-off to figure out where to get the money.
Now, Congress starts a 5-week summer vacation at the end of this week. What else needs to be done that you haven't talked about? Specifically, what's the latest with the Export-Import Bank?
Well, the House is already gone, so they already went home. So the Senate is sitting around, and I don't think that they will be able to attach the EXIM this week to anything. They failed to attach it to the short-term transportation bill. That was a big disappointment for EXIM supporters. The president has pushed for it, but right now it doesn't have a must-pass vehicle to attach itself to. They're talking about doing a vote on the cybersecurity bill, and there may be some additional debate. Less likely a vote on the Iran deal, but I think it's unlikely they're going to attach the EXIM bill to those vehicles because they simply can't push them over to the House and get it reauthorized.
Did your group take a stand on the Export-Import Bank?
We have always been against the Export-Import Bank. This is just corporate subsidies. It's corporate welfare, crony capitalism, whatever you want to call it. You know, Boeing is a big recipient of EXIM support, and they're doing just fine since it's lost its authorization at the end of June. Right.
I was surprised that Obama came out in support of it, but then if you follow the money, it all kind of makes sense. All right. Before you go, I'd like to get your take on the current Planned Parenthood funding issue. Yesterday, the Senate failed to pass a vote that would strip federal funding from the organization. Now, many believe the fight could shift to a government funding measure this fall. Do you think Congress could force a possible shutdown over money for the group?
I think it is possible that this is going to be the battle that leads us up to either to the brink or over the brink of shutdown. It's such an incredibly deep divide on this issue. I think there are people who want to see a shutdown, and the people who want to make sure they defund Planned Parenthood, they're energized. The people who want to protect Planned Parenthood, they're just as energized. I don't think that the Obama administration would sign something that removed all funding from the group. So I think that this is definitely something that could lead to a shutdown. It's a very, very bitter fight.
I know you'll keep following this and many other funding issues on Capitol Hill for us. In the meantime, Ryan Alexander, president of Taxpayers for Common Sense. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.